Alsace region. So you won't recognise it. It'll sound a bit like an Alsatian.
And when we've had enough, I'll do this, because that means we've got to go and broadcast to the world. Let's go. Impropera!
Can you hear me? I muted you because I wanted to make sure you could hear the feed. You're muted, Andrea.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I was in the green room listening to opera music, I think.
Marvellous. That's not going to get any better. So I think we're nearly there, but we're waiting for. Where's herself?
Wait.
Jessie Roger.
I'm finding the poem in the poem residence event.
Are you the poet in residence? You're like
In general, yeah.
I am a poet.
Zambia.
Wherever I am, it's my residence.
I'm sorry.
No pressure then.
Speaking Zambia.
Zambia. Yes. Zambia. Zambia's online.
Outside Wolverhampton,
Yes. Beautiful. And we're going to put that bit pre-record. Yeah. Okay. I'll just to follow you. Why don't I? You look like you know what you're doing. So that makes one of us. It might be nice to, when the music finishes, to like applaud. 40 seconds till the pre-record. Whatever that means. So this is an experiment, just in case I haven't made it clear. This is an experiment.
It's so clear, David.
Is it that clear? It's like so clear.
So clear.
No pressure.
Do we have to read all these books? Do we have to pretend we've read all these books?
And we'll hear it. Hi, I'm David Pearl, and this is King's Place in London. It's an arts venue, amazing place. I love it. It's a place I've had lots of fun. I've performed here a lot, and I've had a lot of fun both on stage and off stage, which makes it the perfect place for me to bring you to ask the question: what would it be like if working life had a backstage area? Let me explain. It's 6 o'clock. Indeed, it's 6 o'clock, and it's the end of your working day. I know a lot of us have to kind of imagine what that's like at the moment, but imagine you've been working in an office or at home or possibly out here in the real world, the front line. You get to the end of the day and boom, it's time for home life. And what's the first thing that happens? More work. There's things to organise, kids to feed, mini-series to watch. What if there was a place between work and home where you could go decompress, hang out with some other people who've been working really hard and have a good time? Come with me. Oh, by the way, when we're in the green room, which is where we're going, a few things to remember. First thing, nobody knows exactly what's going on. It's all improvised, so what happens, happens. Second thing, shoes off. Third thing, and this is really important, tonight's show is dedicated to the memory of a dear friend of ours, Ken Robinson, who died recently. He was a master of playful creativity and he would have loved it. So Ken, if you're up there, you're very welcome too. Let's go. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here in the green room. Settle down. So King's Place couldn't fit us in the actual green room, so we've built our own. I hope that you like what we've done with the place. Will, show us around, take a look. Come with me, come with me. So, behind me you can see we've got some guests. I'll come to them in a minute. But first I want to introduce you to a rarity in these COVID times, a live audience. This live audience has been picked by hand, hard to imagine, but they will applaud for wine, we've discovered. Who else have we got here? Well, we've got a crew. So basically there's Will, who's behind the camera. Nod, Will. No, nod with the camera. Well, that's it. Well, we can feel you. In the booth, we've got David and Jesse. They're on Vision. Yeah, we've got Benji and Rob in the dark who are doing sound. By the way, they run on applause, just so you know. What else? Who else have we got? Ruth doing stage management. And then over on the stage, we have the world's only and probably best improvising opera company, Impropera. And then making this super special, we've not just got the audience in the room, we've got the audience out there in the land of the interweb on YouTube. Hello people. We know we've already got people in Israel, we've got people in Zambia. Thank you for joining us. During the show, please send us your comments, send us your questions. You can heckle if you want, but it's lovely to know that you're there. And if you're enjoying the show, subscribe. Now, I'm not a particular YouTuber, but apparently the word is light us up. Is that right? Light them up, Vanessa? Light them up. My kids are watching. I really apologise because they're now squirming because I'm like so unhip. But anyway, light them up. The other piece of YouTube gossip I heard is goat, which is, wait for it, I'm really good for the greatest of all time. So if you think it's goat, not a goat, but if you think it's goat, let us know. Fantastic, okay. So, it's time to introduce you to our guests. There's no point in being in a green room unless you're in it with wonderful people. And the people I'm about to introduce you to are wonderful. They're people that inspire me, they're creative, they're wonderful, and they are going to find this excruciating because I'm now going to introduce you to them. We are going to applaud, and I'm going to tell you what makes them so fantastic. Is that okay? Great, let's do this thing. So, she's a writer, she's a stand-up. She made me laugh out loud at a book about Parkinson's disease. Welcome, the lovely Emma Lawton. She's a femtech entrepreneur, founder of the menopause startup Vera Health. I nearly got that wrong. Vera Health, short for Virago, right? And she is, without doubt, the best COVID picnic organizer I have ever met. She's Andrea Berkowitz. Joining us from Geneva, all the way from Geneva, is an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur, but entrepreneur and corporate insurgent. He's the founder of the Craig Baroque Business Decelerator. I met him in the back of a minibus in Mozambique. And despite that, we've been friends ever since. He's Gib Bullock! Okay, we're warming up here when he's not helping the Good Chance Theatre do their amazing work with refugees. He is Street Wisdom's poet at large. Philip Cowell is in the room. You've heard of psychologists, you've heard of sociologists. Well, this friend of mine, this dear, dear friend of mine, is a psycho-sociologist. Joining us from her eco community in Italy, Damina, is the consciousness explorer, Espera de Ananas Ametista. Ciao. Give him a pen. Give him a pen, give him a crayon, give him a finger dipped in blood, and he'll do something amazingly artistic with it. He's our own reconstructed artist, the Green Room Gauguin. T-shirted Turner, he's Simon Heath. Finally. She's the editor of Psychology's magazine. We all know Psychology's magazine, right? She's an unstoppable creative force and lives on a houseboat not far from here. Susie Skywalker! Okay, so Susie, the sky is silent, right? It's Susie Walker to the people on Earth. Susie, you're hosting the Green Room with us, and thank you so much for streaming this show, also directly through the Psychologist's Facebook page live. So we really welcome all of your Psychologist's readers and lovers and fans around the world. Is there anything you'd like to say to them right now as they tune in?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here to have some fun in the green room with the wonderful David Pearl from Street Wisdom. I met David from Street Wisdom, which is all about mindfulness, walking the streets, finding magic in the ordinary. I hope we're going to have a very magical night tonight. Thank you, David.
Well, are we going to have a magical night tonight? Yeah. And rest. I don't know about you, but I'm now exhausted. So, the thing about a green room is it's a weird thing that it's not a performance. It's the performance that is not a performance. So, does everyone have a drink? I mean,
yes, we do.
You all have a drink? Can we see you? Well, I think we need to bring the light up just a little so we can see your beautiful there's the audience. And everybody, you just kick off your shoes, actually or mentally. Take off the masks, literally and figuratively, and we chill. Because the great thing about the green room is it's what I'm told is a liminal space. It's a space between one thing and the other. A lot of us have a professional mask, and we then have a personal mask. And in these weird COVID times, the space between those two is like squished. We end up, we're on the screens, and then the next minute we're in our homes, a lot of us, and there's no space in between. Well, we want to, just for tonight, open up 90-minute space in between where we can hang with peers and see what happens. And I've now run out of things to say. So I've got a question for you, enough for me. I'd love to hear from each of you. What is you on stage? Because I've said everyone here is a performer. What is you on stage? And what are you like when you come off stage? And at that moment where you close the door, the audience is no longer watching, and you're like, ah. So Susie, you started. You're closest to me, and you're the reddest person.
Wearing red.
So Susie, editor of Psychologist magazine, what is you on stage?
It was funny because I was getting ready to come here, and I've got in my little canal boat, and it's the first time I've done anything like this for ages because we've been in lockdown, and I haven't got a mirror on the canal boat. So I don't know, for women maybe it's a thing of, I think I'm going to be judged by, So it's the on for me means I feel a fear of being judged.
Yeah.
Of wondering, and the best thing I've ever done was move on my canal boat and not have a mirror. So all of a sudden I'm like, well, I don't know what I look like. Unfortunately, I went to the toilet just before I came here. There's this massive mirror. And I'm like, okay, that's what I look
So you notice there's a high element of sharing in this. You've set the bar high. But it's a really interesting idea. Everybody, the Green Room is not about answers, but anybody wants to get a canal boat, talk to Susie Schultz.
Yeah.
Why the canal boat, by the way? Is that something you were planning?
It was a creative solution to my son getting into a film school in London. He's only 16, and we couldn't afford to move back to London. So I had the brilliant idea of buying a canal boat for 20 grand and parking it in the canal.
In a canal?
Yeah. So actually inspired by Street Wisdom. So I was like, I don't know what, I wanted to support my son. How am I going to do it? I was doing give me some inspiration. I ended up in King's Place and I looked down, there was a canal boat and I thought, oh, I wonder how much one of those costs. And I bid for a mooring. I thought, I'll never get it. I won it. And then I thought, I need a boat. And then I bought a boat.
Synchronicity is working in your favor.
Yes, so it
Brilliant.
happened.
Fantastic, fantastic. So that's you on stage and that's you off stage.
Yeah, so I think it's that piece about who I should be on stage.
Yeah.
And what, obviously, psychology is we're all about authenticity and, you know, and my goal would be, what would it be like to be me on stage and off stage? That would be amazing.
To be the same
wouldn't
person
it?
on and
To be
off.
the same. And I think, sometimes I think, I've got to put my editor hat on or my red blouse on and become an editor. And I don't know what that actually means, but I would love it just to be just me and be authentic.
I would guess also if you've got a magazine like Psychologist, which is all about self-development, is there a pressure to be like very developed and very, and very sort of...
Well, again, just before I came on, we were talking about lockdown and how with our children, perhaps we were not as evolved as we perhaps would like to be. So I ended up throwing my mobile phone at my son at one point, and he was like, "You're the editor of Psychology. What are you doing?"
I'm looking forward to the article which says, you know, psychologist tip for the lockdown: take phone, take son, and launch it.
So well, there is pressure, but I think then you just go, yeah, well, you're human, and hopefully have a sense of humour about how human we are. Hopefully. So,
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So right now we remove from you any need to be self-developed. You just don't throw phone at anybody without warning.
All right.
Gib Bullock over in Geneva. Gib, what is you on stage?
Hi, David.
And what are you like when you come off stage? How do you get off stage?
I'm feeling like I'm getting a bit of stage fright here, actually. Can you get stage fright? Virtually. Zoom fright. I've heard of Zoom.
We're sending. All I can feel here is the love. People just send the love to Gib. There we go. There we go.
I feel it. Bring it in. Bring it in.
Actually, here's the thing, Gib, just one thing. Here's something that a friend of ours, Nicole, showed me, which is amazing. Zoomsters, this works, okay? So, Gib, I want you to imagine that we've got our hands on the small of your back. Oh. We're just putting our hands on the small, and you too, SB, the hands on the small of your back. Just giving you a little pat, a little rub, and just like, we're just putting our hands on your back. And you can do the same with us, yeah? You can both send a little... If you can put your hands mentally on our back, including in proper. You can wash your hands afterwards once you've done that. Okay? But there's this nice feeling that we got each other's back. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Okay, Gib, that's quite enough loving up of you. Tell us, what are you like on stage? What is on stage for you at the moment? You've had an interesting genesis, but what is on stage for you? And what do you like when you come off stage? How do you get off stage?
Well, the on stage for me, having been one of your corporate pals in the world of big business and things like that. I was on stage most days, like we all are, in the office, with our office persona. We're sometimes presenting physically on stages. So I left that a few years ago, as you know, and just been trying to really get out the comfort zone, really, in many ways. Try things I didn't do when I was in the corporate world. Things like, I don't know, singing that I'd never done outside of the shower, or joined a gospel choir here in Geneva, which is ridiculous. It's scary. Doing art, improv comedy, things like that. The things that business people don't do. So I'm trying to find my offstage.
You've got a great, we'll talk about it a bit later, I think, but the work we've done together in the Decelerator, you've got this lovely concept of Ma space. Can you just give us a little flavour of what Ma space is for you?
Sure. Ma in Scottish means mother, I suppose, but I discovered that in Japanese there's another thing. You talked about this liminal space, which I like, the space in between. And Ma space, I learned, is a Japanese term for intentional space. The space between the notes that make the music. And, you know, again, in the business world, I think there's just too little of this kind of Ma space. We pack our agendas full, we pretend we're busy, we do one thing after the other. and just having a space to think and breathe and create is really quite important. And that's what the Decelerator is all about. So happy to chat more about that. It's really weird. I've got this funny echo in my ear, so I'm hearing everything I'm saying.
It's
like 2 seconds behind, but that's a bit frightening.
Okay, so we'll see if we can sort that out, and but if not, just less whiskey is what I recommend. That would probably help. Thanks a lot.
Well, I'm
Gib.
seeing 2 of you as well, David. I don't know whether that's audio visual.
Don't complain, there's a bonus there. So, Andrea, known to her friends as Berkowitz, and we're friends.
Yeah.
Andrea, what is on stage for you? Vira Health? What's on stage at the moment?
Well, it's Vera. We're great friends. No, well, I think what you just said is very similar for me. So I think that lockdown actually helped me with my on-stage, off-stage, because as you said, it was like on the Zoom, you know, with an investor, on the Zoom for Passover, on the Zoom with a friend who's having a birthday. And so like all of these things were in exactly the same form. But I had a very corporate life as well. My life on stage was kind of go to the next thing, get on the plane, sleep on the plane, show up, do the thing, do the other thing, do the other thing, get on the plane, go home, be terrible to my loved ones, get on the plane, go home, get on stage, be nice to strangers, come home, be terrible to people I actually care about. And I then took like 18 months off to try and like figure out who I was and what I really wanted to do. And that's kind of how I got to Femtech, which we'll talk about later. But what's funny is in that 18 months, I think I did make a lot of progress and I did kind of figure out who my offstage person was. But again, in lockdown, it took like 5 minutes because you really were just one person and why get dressed, or why get dressed for this in a different way than you get dressed for that? You know, why put on makeup for this and not that? You are kind of one person all day, Zoom to Zoom. And that was actually a much more effective way of changing things.
Beautiful. Was there a moment where, because we met in very high, we were more likely to meet in Dubai or Addis Ababa but we've been meeting occasionally in Highbury, right? Okay. But was there a moment for you when you thought, oh, yeah, this lockdown thing, this is the lockdown me, or is there like do you have an item of clothing or something that you put on and that's the lockdown slippers and that's your power slippers or anything like that?
I mean, I am wearing my lockdown outfit. When the woman said, wear something bright, I was like, well, I got my blue sweater, which is what I've been wearing. There was a blue t-shirt when, you know, weather was appropriately different. No, you know, I think lockdown, it's really complicated to celebrate the silver linings because it is so awful, right? Like the economic situation, it's really hard to be like, well, this has been a great find yourself moment for me, but it also has. And so both things are true. It's a terrible public health situation. I am so grateful for the position I'm in. All of those things that are important to say in this context. But at the end of the day, yeah, it like really did force some reflection in my house, all alone, day 37.
It's really odd, but there's an opera scene about that very thing. And it's funny enough, the person in it's called Andrea. It's extraordinary, isn't there,
The
Fiona?
maker predicted this.
Yeah. Day 37, when Andrea realizes that life has got to change, is that something that it's been composed? What language was that opera written in, by the way?
Finnish.
Icelandic with a Finnish backbeat, that's right. Is there anybody here who speaks Icelandic with a Finnish backbeat?
Yeah, I can't speak straight Icelandic, and I can't speak straight Finnish, but I can get to the Finnish with Icelandic.
That's funny.
I mean, would you mind, I know you've been practicing this for a while in lockdown, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Fiona, that's right. So, I mean, if you just give us a bit of the scene, we would love to see it, because it's incredibly synchronous that you mentioned this very thing.
I will simultaneously translate this for you from the original Icelandic, because I am bisexual, I can do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, in Propera!
God, it's horrible being 37. All the people I love. I find I dislike.
Oi,
All day long on my phone, on my Zoom. I need some time to myself. To myself. What's that at the door?
Amazon
Sounds like a nasty virus. I'm not going out. But I just remembered. If I stay indoors, I have nothing to wear. I will make the best of the blue sweater. It'll have to do. And now I step out. Highbury. Past the Emirates football stadium. There's the hen and chickens on the corner. That's not open. Damn it. Oh, look, it's somebody I don't know. I'll wave at them. Please, please, keep 2 yards apart. Sorry about the outfit. That's all I've got. See you around, maybe. It's just me now. Me. Just me. It's kind of self-explanatory, that bit. The same in Icelandic. Be careful what you wish for. A time of reflection. It must be. Zoom call. You're still on mute? Oh, you're still on mute.
Accurate?
Accurate.
Pretty accurate. You managed to get, and you also both got the blue thing. Amazing, amazing. Synchronicity will help you if you let it. So SB, we're going to come to you shortly, and Philip, but I see Emma Lawton on the couch, and I'm thinking, I actually want to spend a bit of time with Emma because you know she's one of my favourite people. So Simon, would you go and have a beer or something?
Oh,
and I'm going to come sit over here.
Gladly.
So Emma.
Hello.
Emma Lawton in the house. We met. I met Emma when we were doing a talk about difficult things you've been through in life.
Yeah.
And I was booked to talk about the difficult time I had at university. And Emma was. Well, Emma can tell us what she was booked to talk about. But Emma, I'm a huge fan. I can't help noticing. You are a campaigner, you are a comedian, you are a champion, you are a writer, you're incredibly funny, but I can't help noticing you've also, somewhere along the line, you picked up Parkinson's disease. Is this something you've noticed too?
Yeah.
Do tell, how did this come about?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. They keep trying to find out. But yeah, around 7 years ago now, I discovered that I had Parkinson's, which was a massive shock because I'm not over 60 and male, so it kind of was a big surprise to me. And I think it's been the making of me in a weird way, but actually I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was going to be horrendous. So yeah, it's been an interesting life so far. I'm kind of enjoying myself.
It's amazing to watch you transform yourself, year on year. But what is life on stage for you at the moment? I mean, you're literally on stage in the sense that you do stand up.
Yeah.
Tell us, at the moment, what is life on stage like for you?
It's an interesting one because I feel like it's a responsibility, a really nice responsibility that I have, that actually I've become sort of a bit of a spokesperson for Parkinson's and positivity and things like that, which is lovely. I love it. But actually it's when you're speaking for a lot of people who maybe can't physically speak themselves or don't get the opportunities, it's kind of, you feel like you have to say things that are right for all of them, which is, you can't do that. You can never do that. So I think I kind of turned to humour in a way to be able to kind of be a bit kind of self-effacing about it, to kind of be able to make a joke. And I'm not kind of a gags aplenty sort of person. I'm kind of quippy, but actually being quippy about Parkinson's is great fun. It puts it in its place. So actually, I guess it takes responsibility off a little bit. I can be silly with it. Whereas if I'm doing kind of quite serious talks, I feel like I have to say all the right things. I have to kind of envelop everyone that has Parkinson's and tell their story, which I can never do. It's not possible.
You remind me of something that a friend of ours, Epsiode, introduced me to this man, Ken Campbell. Many of you might know Ken Campbell. He was one of the irascible guests at Fawlty Towers, a genius man. And he used to say, this is far too important to take seriously. And I get that a little bit from you, which is there's something about the way that it is clearly a serious subject, but you're very playful with it. I mean, what reactions do you get from that? And what propelled you to the comedy circuit and the stand-up?
I get a pretty good response. People, it's kind of that moment when I do the first couple of jokes on my stand-up and people think, is it okay to laugh? Am I right to laugh? And normally I'll kind of swear at them and say, like, if you don't laugh, I'm going to, I've got Parkinson's, you've got to laugh kind of thing. It's really unfair if you don't. And actually, once they kind of get into the swing of it, they realise they can laugh at me. They do laugh, and I think they don't feel awkward about it. And it teaches them something. They get to kind of laugh along with me. It never feels like they're laughing at me. It feels like they're laughing with me. And I got into doing stand-up because I basically decided last year to do something new every day for the whole of the year, which kind of got scuppered a little bit towards the end of the year. But
yeah, I remember you. I was looking at it, and Obama apparently was asked if he had a bucket list.
Okay.
And he said he doesn't have a bucket list, but he has something that rhymes with bucket list, which is you too.
I also have one of those. Yeah. Trying to get the domain name for that was interesting. I have to say, trying to find a domain name for basically bucket list with an F at the beginning and no D, no D, no B. You can't even spell. So I basically did something new every day, and stand-up was just one of those things that I thought, I'll just do it once. But actually, I really enjoyed it. It was great fun, and actually standing on a stage and making people laugh was quite satisfying.
You also made me cry. I was doing some research for this, and I was watching you on YouTube, and this is a Stonewood cry, and you knew you were going to make us cry.
Yeah.
But Emma did an amazing thing where she stands and she's doing a talk, and there's a man and a woman on either side holding a piece of string. Is it okay that this is mansplaining on an enormous...
No, go for it.
Basically, she hangs... What is it you do?
So I kind of tell a story a little bit about the things that have happened to me in my life since I've been diagnosed. So I hang something that is related to them. So maybe I've bought a house, so house keys, or a job contract, or something like that. So I hang them all on the thread.
And at the end of it, she takes some scissors and she snips it. And well, what do you? I mean, it's your material.
So, basically, the idea being that Parkinson's kind of, if Parkinson's hadn't come about, none of those things would have happened. So actually, cutting the thread shows that all those things would have been wiped away.
And you think you got that, and then she goes, I'd like to introduce my parents who have been holding the string. You see, even now it's like, you cow. You made your dad cry, you made your mum cry, you made us cry. So it's an emotional thing, but it's beautiful. So to be able to bring that to the surface. I can't help noticing you're not alone, by the way. I'm not
my friend. She just got in my bag, and she's been in my bag all day, so I thought she'd come.
Who is this?
This is Edna.
And Edna. Hi, Edna.
So she does stand-up comedy with me. She also has Parkinson's, because obviously when she's on my hand, we're a bit shaky together. So we have a lot of fun. But she's great. She's mute because I can't do ventriloquism, so she's lost her voice. But yeah, we've had a great kind of I basically decided if I was going to do stand-up comedy, I might as well make it a little bit harder for myself as someone with Parkinson's and introduce a prop that goes on the hand that shakes. So why not? Eh?
I remember you doing stuff where you put glitter on your hands, and so that glitter would be thrown around. It's a very beautiful and very powerful thing that you're doing. Tell us about what you're doing with, if that isn't enough, with your community, because you, Andrea, you guys know each other from the startup scene. Tell us a bit about your community activities.
We're basically built a co-founder of a startup called More Human. So we're basically trying to help communities, so communities being kind of housing developments, groups of people that want to get together, to put on events and to ticket them and to bring money into those communities and to introduce them to activity providers that want to do the same. So people that are out there that are really struggling at the moment, yoga teachers, people like that can't do their lessons in person, how we can kind of match those people up to bring money into communities that they can then reach out to more people that are lonely and isolated. So. And
what is it about communities? Communities, I'm very drawn to the idea of community, although I do feel the word itself...
It's a bit of a weird word, isn't it?
Between us, it smells of weed. There's something about it. It's kind of like every community hall, you think... Oh,
and also every company has kind of adopted the idea of having a community. So
that's right.
Every store you think of as a community, and actually that's not real community. Community is, the people that you have some sort of connection with in some way. So.
Yeah, it's this, I think. It's this. It's these needs for, I think what the Green Room also is trying to be is another expression of that. Is can we clear a bit of the noise away and create a clearing, and we can have a space to, I don't know, to breathe, to do things different. It's beautiful. It's beautiful what you're doing. I'm going to open this up, is what I notice I'm going to do. We've just talked about the gathering and opening. So can we have a bit of light, and can we draw everyone else into the conversation? Simon, can you come back?
I suppose so.
Put that beer down. Put that beer down. What twangs for you? What pings for you? Philip, you're doing amazing work with Good Chance Theatre and the refugee community there. Just what pings in you from what Emma says?
Well, I'm just, Andrea and I were agreeing. The word community does not smell of weed, David. I'm so sorry.
I thought you said weed.
Weed.
I did initially.
No, but what you're saying is another and a bigger point. I work for, I play for, I big up, I bang the drum for Good Chance Theatre, who, don't know if you know, if you saw The Jungle, dear audience, the play that was on as a result of the time in the Calais jungle refugee camp.
If you've heard of The Jungle, murmur.
Hey, that's great.
Because this is quite a metropolitan audience, they do it anyway. Of course I know that.
Of course, I read that
book. Even if they don't.
So it was, that 2015, that huge moment with the so-called refugee crisis. Was it actually more of a welcome crisis, where refugees from across the world, but particularly Syria, were sort of held in the Calais refugee camp, and my bosses, my 28-year-old bosses, Joe Murphy and Joe Robertson, went down, two playwrights, fresh out of college. Obviously hadn't done anything since then, went down to really try and help out. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They just wanted to help out. They didn't want to do theatre. They didn't want to do theatre. And do you know what they did? They ended up putting up a theatre, didn't they? Because, of course, what they were hearing, all the murmurs, was community. Was they could see people dancing, they could see people playing, they could see little scenes were being enacted. And basically the Calais jungle didn't have one neutral space, like a community hall or a town hall. So they basically just... They built it with them. They built it all together, and then the jungle came out of it. And I basically, helped bang the drum. 5 years later, and we're still, we've got an exciting project next year.
So you're not really a drummer, though, are you? I mean, you bang the drum metaphorically, but you also poet.
Well, indeed.
What is the verb to poet? I poet.
To write.
To write.
Poeting.
Thank you.
To write.
Thank you.
Helpful. So just to let you know, I'm not checking my
Berkowitz.
emails. I've got my laptop here. So poetry is that's the thread that runs through everything in terms of my own personal passions, life work, and all that. It's what I've done the whole time, really. And so I'm a poet. I'm the poet at large for Street Wisdom. I love the poetry that's in the room. I've already jotted some down. It's coming out of all your mouths. Some stuff online from the audience.
Oh, by the way, online people.
Yeah.
Vanessa will kill me if I don't say What am I supposed to say? I hope you're enjoying yourselves. More comments, keep it clean, and hit the subscribe button. Light us up. Light it up. Light them up. Let's get lit. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't say that. Is that right? That's not right. Anyway, back to you.
Well, that's the end of the poem. Let's get lit. Yeah, so in answer to your question about offstage, onstage, I actually think, in a way, for me, the poem is the intermediary bit. Because I know a poem is ready for publishing when I'm happy to stand up, when I can stand by it, as it were. And so that's when... So a poem is obviously a very personal, private thing, right? So that's the private bit, that's the offstage bit. And then when I can perform it to the world, that's me on stage. And it's that thing we were talking about of the oneness.
You know what you've got to do? I'm interrupting because it's my show,
away.
so I can. You wrote a poem in the front. You've got a choice. Either read us a poem of you seem to have one ready.
I've got Hafez, I've got my own.
And you've got the poem that you wrote about street wisdom. Whichever moves your fancy.
I'm just going to read Hafez, because
Hafez.
Quite frankly, you cannot...
We love a bit of Hafez,
if
do we not?
Hafez or Hafiz is in the room, then, you know, he has to go first.
Hands up, Metropolitans, if you know the difference between Hafez and Rumi. Yeah. And hands up if you care.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read translation by Daniel Ladinsky. It's the 3-line version. He calls them renderings rather than translations. So here we go. Here's a Hafiz poem, 3 lines. One regret, dear world, that I am determined not to have when I am lying on my deathbed, is that I did not kiss you enough. Isn't that a bit gorge?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit gorge? So he melts you, he melts your heart, and that's basically what poetry is for me as well.
Beautiful. You've done a bit of melting here. Emma's melting. Edna's melted.
Gone.
Esperide, carissima. Can you hear us?
Sì, ciao, ciao.
Could you conduct the rest of this in Italian? Because frankly, we just love to hear you speak Italian.
Va bene, che cosa volete dire? But I have to say, I think I drank the same wine that keep drunk, because I also have like a 2 seconds delay. It's quite interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, you're doing very well. It's coming. We might need simultaneous translation, Neil, but not quite yet.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You sound very as though you're in a sacred cave, which is possibly true, knowing you. Maybe Espy, I don't know if this is possible, but if not, maybe do it in expressive dance. You can mime to us. But for you, you live in a community. I mean, boy, you live in a community, and you have for many years, an intentional community in the foothills of the Italian Alps. What does community mean for you now? You know, after many years and with everything that's going on, where's the validity for you in community? Or maybe we need to evolve the word. Maybe it needs to be refreshed.
Yeah, what a question. Well, I think that now community is one of the keys for, I say a big thing, but for actually the happy survival of humanity. So definitely we need to refresh the word and the meaning and the way we use it. Because community basically means giving meaning to shared life and
So SB, we've got, this is the age of craziness, yeah? So we get what you're saying, kind of. So what we're going to have to, but you know my number, maybe you just were going to call me up. So I think there are elves, techno elves, running around with spanners trying to sort this out. But we'll come back to you because I wanted to talk to you about, as we move on, we're going to be thinking about how we navigate this unusual situation we've created for ourselves. And I know you've got interesting insights into that. So that is, thank you. Thank you for that. Susie.
Yes.
Playtime.
Oh.
No, I thought you might have a game that we might play. I know something I wanted to pick up that was I overheard you talking about. If you fancy, and you don't have to, but menopause.
I do fancy talking.
Come
about
on,
Yes.
come on, people.
Come on, girl.
How was that for a link? Yes. I was thinking pause. It's the space between two things, and then I thought let's not go there. But when we were sitting in, I don't know, the departure land of Dubai airport, I'm guessing that you wouldn't have thought a couple of years later you'd be working on that era. Just tell us a little bit about what took you there and what you're doing there.
Yeah. No, I think in the departure land of Dubai, if you would have suggested that this is what I do, I would have probably said some pretty unkind things. So apologies for that. Yeah, so like I said, I left kind of a corporate life to have a walkabout. And a few things happened. When you kind of calm down and start like taking everything in, I started to think I might want to do something on my own. I had a few job interviews and I thought I don't want to work for any of these people, so maybe I want to do something on my own. And so, okay, what would I do? And I had a really formative experience with a book, which is pretty consistent in my life. I read Invisible Women, which is this amazing book about the gender data gap. And you kind of come away from that, well, specifically chapter 10, like it was very formative. Like the world was not designed for women. So anything that only happens to women, there probably are no goods and services for, or they certainly aren't up to snuff. And so I started thinking about that and talking to different people about, you know, what do women need? What do we want to buy? We have money and power and we have needs. And so if I go to the shop, are there the things I need for that? And at the time, I was talking to a few friends, and the 10-year period of menopause came up, and it just became really clear to me that there was an investment thesis in the idea that women want to buy goods and services designed for them. It's like no more complicated than that, and that they also deserve them. And so I started, so I started talking to doctors, I started talking to women, I talked to my mom about menopause for the first time ever, which was also a shock to me because we're pretty open, like how didn't that happen? Yeah, and then I met a co-founder and we started a business. It's called Vera Health, which a lot of people call Vira, so no worries. We're building an app to support women to manage their symptoms in an ongoing way, personalized to their needs. It's cool. And I will say, everyone's interested. Like, I haven't had a kind of negative experience of why are you doing that, or, you know, the world doesn't need that. The kind of open response, like, oh yeah, why aren't there better things out there? Or why aren't we talking about this more? It's actually been quite refreshing in that way.
So it's a little bit like Emma, you know, it's kind of an area that people don't kind of marginalize, they don't really talk about. Susie, is this of interest to psychologists, and have you done work on the menopause and stuff like that?
Well,
Where are you with it?
Funnily enough, we've just done a big cover with Mariella Frostrop, who was, fronted the menopause program, which was amazing. We've just had Caitlin Moran in the magazine, who also was talking about midlife. And I love this idea of, the estrogen starts leaving our body, and the great thing, we're liberated. This idea of that we just don't care anymore. and it's interesting, we're talking about community. I think I may be wrong and I may be sexist, but there's a lot of communities that feel like they're created by women, and we pull it together and we weave that together. And I'm wondering, as we go forward, I'm menopausal, and I'm seeing many of my friends go out in the world and they're like, okay, family life done, right. And I don't know whether they're going to create community. Although our next cover is with Ruby Wax, and she is all about community, but she's slightly older. So maybe there's a part, first of all, where we all get incredibly selfish and do what we want to do after all the child rearing and all of that. And then we come back to stuff. But I do think around creating community and connection is the route to happiness, but I think there is that space as women. We either are using all that estrogen to nurture. It may not be a family, but it may be a business, or we're nurturing, and then your estrogen falls off a cliff, or sometimes it does, and then all of a sudden you're liberated. You're free from doing all that nurturing. I mean, there's so many of my friends are leaving their husbands. They're like, I don't care about him anymore. See you, bye. And you're like, oh, really? And it's just because they're free and they're liberated. There was that amazing,
But this isn't something we're necessarily recommending. My wife is sitting over there, just Susie. That's Susie's point of view, but it's not endorsed by the green room. Just saying.
But I think, but it's interesting, but I think there's an adjustment for families, for the teenagers, for the husbands. That all of a sudden, the woman is going, what about me? What about my needs? What do I want? What do I want to do? And you're right. All of a sudden, we're coming center stage, and what I feel like the drums are beating, and it's like lots of women are going, right, yes, and this intense creativity and this intense, I don't know, just it's being unleashed. I feel really excited about what's happening right now for women of our age. I think there's and kind of showing and modeling that for younger women and saying, okay, this is what it looks like. There's no longer this kind of invisible wall. I don't feel that at all. Yeah. It's not about invisible. We're freed from the male gaze.
Yeah.
We're onwards and upwards.
Absolutely. And I think the invisible is a really kind of nice use of words, because I think the kind of a lot of things need to catch up to that feeling, right? Like the healthcare that's available to women, the gender pay gap, all sorts of issues need to catch up to that feeling. And so I think have you read The Shift, Sam Baker's new book?
Have you read The Shift?
No. Well, it's about this, and it's so lovely. And she also finished it during this very moment, so she refers to lockdown. And it feels quite strange to read a book where coronavirus is in it. It's like, I thought we were just going to forget this happened. No.
Who's Shift by?
Sam Baker, I think.
Oh, Sam Baker, yeah. Sure, she was my first editor. She was,
Well, she's written a lovely book about menopause that I totally recommend.
You two can just have a little conversation about this.
She's cool, though. She's brilliant, Sam Baker.
She's brilliant, and she writes about exactly this, of like finding this exciting time that is about you, that is a discovery, and it's a great book. I recommend it.
So Gib, I thought of menopause and making the connection there. What I was thinking was community and also a kind of awakening. I think what Susie's saying is sometimes there's a physical change that happens in people that kind of awakens people. You've had your own experiences, which you probably need a whole green room to explore them, but you've had your own sort of awakenings. Anything you want to say about that related to the idea of deceleration? And also whether there's a beautiful community you're creating in and around Butte, this gorgeous island. Any little insights you can give us on that? No pressure.
No pressure. Well, Butte itself is an amazing community. I grew up there. You may have detected a slight Scottish accent from me, despite the audiovisual challenges. And actually, when you were speaking about refugees earlier on as well, this community in a UK that has been fairly pathetic in terms of the refugees they've taken on, the Isle of Butte community has taken on 25 Syrian refugee families, which is amazing, and they've been integrated really, really well. There's been some programs in the BBC about that, which is great. Well, when I was a kid, it was 8,000 or so, and it's probably 5,000 or 6,000 now. And one of the challenges it's had is people leave and go to the bright lights of London, where you are, to seek their fortune, like I tried to do. The dim lights of London, and the shady places of London. The decelerator you mentioned, it's really, I've come from the sort of side of business that where everything has been going faster and bigger and accelerating and profit, I'm always wondering, well, what if we went in a slightly different direction? What actually if the best way of changing both ourselves and our organizations might actually start by slowing down? And then found a derelict farm on this island, and it's a place that I want to bring business people, like I am, and connect them to things like music and improv and art and this community, and kind of really open up that right brain that tends to atrophy in business, and connect to people's soul in some way, which I know these are not words that we normally use in business, but that's what I'm trying to do.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I know somebody else who finds it hard to slow down. Neil finds it hard to slow down. Neil's a bit of a kind of speed freak. I don't think he'll mind me saying this about him.
A speed freak.
Somebody who's, you know, hooked on fast and finds it really hard to slow down. You wish life could slow down, but you know what? I'm not going to mansplain you. You sing it, boy. You tell it.
Yeah, I am a speed addict. Not just the amphetamine, but no, just a fast pace. Fast pace. I love fast pace. It's going to be hard to sing this slowly. I wake up every morning, stretching and yawning, waiting for something fast to come. If I don't get there quick, I could start to feel real sick. I'm waiting for that rage to come. Make it fast-paced, make it quick. Otherwise, you'll get some stick from me. I'll need it speedy. That's right, Anthony. Sometimes I used to think that life could be lived much more slow. Then I found it took such a long time to go anywhere. So I got myself a car with an extra gear. And now it takes me much less long to get from there to here. Sometimes I get on my bike, but it's not quite as fast as I'd like. I say to you, get there more quick. I know I'll change you for an electric. I can't stand hanging around. I gotta get quickly round about the town. So if you're going slow, get out of my way. You hear what I say, I gotta get there today. Hit it! Told about the time that I moved so fast. But even though I'm middle-aged now, I still move fast and how. But I know that the speed can't last. So one day soon I'm gonna slow right down, taking every part of my beautiful hometown. Gaze up at the trees, watch the leaves in the breeze, listen to the song of the birds, take more time with every word. And I know when it comes, I'm gonna love taking it slow.
My dear friends are improper. Neil Ashdown, Fiona Finsbury, Pete Furness and the maestro, Anthony Ingle, Impropera, Esperide. We're hoping...
Hey!
Hey! Oh, that's better. We're liking that.
Better, yes.
So, Espy, you've been watching, I've seen you nodding and kind of connecting. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? In our little room here.
Now I just see myself. Right. What I was just I see a beautiful group of people with so many colors and ideas and dreams.
Thank you. We take the compliment. We'll take that. We're still having difficulty hearing you, but we got beautiful people, highly talented, clearly oversexed, and beautifully tailored. So thank you for those. That's great. I'm not sure how we're going to get. I so want to talk to you, and I want to play, but I'm not sure exactly what we can do. So. Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could... Can I call you? Hang on a second. Have you got your phone with you? Esperide.
This feels very
Telefonino ce l'hai?
This happens every
Yes.
day.
Telefonino... C'è un segnale anche?
Okay.
Proviamo.
See, yes, I can call you on WhatsApp.
Just chill out. We'll see where we can... I have got a signal. Let's see if we can get SB on the phone. I mean, oh, here she is. SB.
We're going to get a...
Hey,
Puoi parlare?
this is funny. Yes, of course I can talk.
Okay.
I was saying that I see a beautiful group of people with so many colors and intentions and dreams intertwined.
Okay, Pete. Okay. Creatività. Ah, okay. So, SB, just a quick word about community, because you know as much about it as anybody. Just want to add anything to that? You know, why it's potent? You know, Emma was telling us that she's rekindling, doing best to serve communities, and Susie's talking about the community that's galvanized by menopause, as is Andrea, and Gib was, you know, is creating a community that's committed to slowing down. Where's the value for you in community, because you live it?
Well, I think that Susie said a very important word, that was connection. So I think we all thrive when we feel we're connected to each other. And when you have real community, this connection has a meaning, has a purpose, and you understand how valuable you are because you're different from everybody else. And another thing, another gift, I think, of community is that it really helps you think in terms of more than one generation. So you go beyond yourself, and you also go beyond your kids, because, you know, there's always other children being born in community, and there's always someone getting older. So you have frames of reference and also a broader picture of what life is, which is really how we used to live. And so, you know, I think COVID is, the separation is bringing, is underlying for everyone how much we are really yearning for finding this connection again, and how important it is. And also, as you just came up, you know, my title, Consciousness Explorer, consciousness and growing in consciousness comes through groups of people. It doesn't come to one person alone. It's the field that we create collectively that allows for humanity to keep growing.
I love that. I love that Thich Nhat Hanh, I believe, said the next Buddha will be a group, not a person. That idea of this, you know,
yes.
and also complexity is something that we designed, right? So human beings thrive on complexity. Just, it can be difficult to navigate sometimes, which brings me to a favor I want to ask you. I've never done this before, certainly not in this kind of high-tech, low-tech way, but SB, you are a very gifted, I'm not sure how we describe what you do with those cards, whether it's tarot or whatever the hell it is, but you have a way of tapping into the archetypes and helping. I know for me, we've worked together for a fair old while on various aspects of spirituality and so on, but I always get a real kick from the insights I get when you do tarot, right? So I wonder whether you could, we're sitting in London, where everything's going fine, by the way. Everything is fine. And we are, you know, gosh, you know, this is a rare moment for us. We're in a room together. The last time I saw many of these people was the last time I was in a big room was when we were doing a concert together and stuff. And then there was a lockdown, and they're threatening another lockdown. Danny was saying to me, maybe you should stop getting us together, because it maybe. But so there's a good element of like not knowingness. We certainly are dealing with lots of complacency and people thinking they're knowing which way. But I wondered if there's anything that we could, by connecting a bit with the archetypes the way you do, you could like give us a bit of a steering. We'll talk a bit about street wisdom in a minute, about other ways of finding navigation, but I'll shut up. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and as you know, in order to have an indication that makes a little bit of sense, we need to have a clear question, because answers are normally already in the questions. So can you specify the question?
Okay, so selfishly, I feel like I'd like to ask a question for this green room experiment, which is the first time we've done it this way, and I think for me, I think it's my version of what you guys are doing, which is sort of seeking to create a communal space that we can play in. I know I see many people around the room who are doing that in their ways. I mean, we could ask about how more people could enjoy this. Vanessa will just say, get people to subscribe to. And by the way, where are you? Do subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, light us up. But anyway, or maybe we could ask about, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't ask the question, the way forward for Britain. That could take a while. But help me, Espi, what would be the accurate frame, do you think? What would be, from what you're hearing?
Maybe it could be in which way this beautiful experiment that you're putting together, creating this space for people to really, open up and share in this way, which is quite unusual, especially these times, could even be, which is the best way for it to serve people even more.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, okay, that's the question, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so, Espi, what do we do next?
So I don't know how to, maybe I can show you, as we are doing this high-tech, low-tech, I can actually move my computer, so I show you one thing. So that is my tarot deck, and now from there I'm going to pick a couple of cards and see what they would like to tell us, okay?
Okay.
And think of this and I pretend that you're here. So, one.
So how could this thing serve more and more people? How can it spread? Okay.
Okay, very nice. So the first card, this is like the Knight of Discs. And so this is a card that indicates that it's the beginning of something and you have space to perfect it. So it's very good when you're done, and then as you progress, you will be able to have new ideas and even more enthusiasm.
So that's what they call in business appreciative feedback, which is there's plenty of space to improve things. We hear you. Thank you for that.
Yes, and this is already starts from a very good. This is saying what you're doing is very good.
Okay.
Because we are talking about.
We're feeling better. We're feeling better.
Yeah, it's not about you have to improve because it's not good. This says it's very good, and therefore you can even tap into more and more creativity.
Perfect.
That's what he got.
Oh, and then that's interesting. We have got a major arcana, so here we are really talking about, archetypes, and this is the Hermit. So in this context, I would say this card indicates that it's important that you help people and, those who are there with you, all of us there, maybe to find a way to go deeper inside themselves. So maybe this meetings, even though of course they're joyous and creative, could end with a question, could end with a theme that we can take home and say, oh, this was really entertaining, beautiful, but the things that we share are so important. And what could be one common thing that at the end you can distill from what everybody has been saying as the theme for us to continue thinking about.
So audience, maybe you could think about that for us as well. That would be good. That would help us. Good. Beautiful. Do we get any more? Could we do a couple more?
One more. Okay.
Oh, one more. Okay.
You get one more.
We get one more.
Interesting. Okay, so we have another major arcana.
Just one thing. British people, when you say interesting, it causes us to go knots in our stomach because it's not a good. But this is an Italian interesting, right?
Oh, it's a super interesting.
Immagino.
It really is really good because
crazy.
We have another major arcana, which means again that what you're doing is important because these cards refer to the greater archetypes of the history of the universe, the history of humanity. So picking 2 out of 3, it means what you're doing is momentous. It's important. This was a good idea. And this is the card of the 0. So this is the card that is interesting because it really refers to creativity. If we look at this in the idea of the creation of the universe, for instance, it represents the moment even before the Big Bang. It represents the moment in which everything is pure potential, and then it gets together and as it enters time, we start having events. But this is before. So it's really telling you, so important to continue going deep into this idea of creativity, of improvising. We need more of this. We need a new innocence in which, through which we can look at things and interpret also the deep, deep questions of our times with this innocence, with this creativity.
Improper, like, super happy about that. You're a genius. There's something about listening to you also as well. It's you have a turn of phrase in your fifth language. I don't know how many, 7 languages. How many languages do you speak?
Okay, I feel embarrassed when you ask me this thing.
This is good. It's good. A bit of embarrassment is good. So anyway, it's 7, 15 languages you speak. But you're brilliant in all of them. And it's really, there was a lot of, you can feel people going, oh, yeah, it's interesting. You used the word innocence as well. And you brought up something you didn't hear, but I just want you to know, because it feels appropriate, that we dedicated this evening to Sir Ken Robinson, those of you know who died. Yeah. And Sir Ken is passed recently, and he was a champion of that, the improvisational, of the creative, and of the playful. We were hoping he'd be a guest, or maybe he is a guest, and we just can't see him. But that's in his. I think our job is to continue that, to continue and grow that playful creativity, because I think it's also part of the. I think there's particularly here in London, it seems to be part of our kind of birthright, yeah? Something about... Anyway, thank you for that. So much in what you said is resonating. And I just want to pick up something and sort of segue a little bit to talk about wandering and street wisdom and the worldwide wander and improvisation. So I'm going to put the phone down now, just because, is that okay? It doesn't, yes. Okay, just don't disappear, okay, but just I'm going to press this button. By the way, I enjoyed that. We needed a yogurt pot and a piece of string as well. Okay, so good. So, this is improvised this evening, and improvised un-pro for vise scene, unforeseen. And one thing I love about, I've worked with, we've worked together for 15 more, anche di più. But as someone who came from opera, which was, and classical music, which is very, it's not prescribed, but you know what's coming next. You know, you kiss the soprano on page 17. No, it's written, right? Sopranos know what that's. There's an ultra soprano, by the way, in the audience. Give us and if you give us an ultra note, let's hear an ultra note. Oh, yes. I don't know if you can hear that. Could you hear that, viewers at home? Yeah, they obviously could. Thank you so much. Stand by for another one. That was wonderful. Star Trek. Fantastic. There's something about improvisation which is, while scary, it somehow precipitates you into a world which is a bit like the world we're living in now, where it's unforeseen. And there's a certain fear in that, but there's a certain grace. And things start to present themselves to you like your, perhaps like your boat, like, I don't know if you ever thought of Pat Parkinson as something that serendipity sent your way, but yeah. You've taught powerfully. I loved it, by the way, Emma, when you said your job is being myself.
Yeah.
I thought that was say what you meant by that, while I'll hold that other thought, by the way. I
guess it's that thing about kind of bringing your whole self to work, and actually, I think it's a really important thing that, we spoke about, Andrea spoke about the fact that she's kind of been struggling with and she's kind of slipped very well into the Zoom kind of being herself all the time. And actually, I find with Parkinson's, that's kind of done the same for me. I have to kind of be myself all the time. I can't pretend to be anything I'm not, because actually my frailties and my weaknesses and everything is on show. And I find I make deeper connections because of that. But actually, I can't be anyone other than me. And so actually, I find my job is being me, which is lovely. I mean, I'm okay at it. I do an all right job at being me, I think, sometimes. But yeah, it's that's sort of what I meant by it.
So it sort of links to what you were saying, maybe, Susie. It's not that just to be you at your work, but your work is being you, perhaps. Perhaps that's where we have to go. But this sense of the innocence you talk about, the unstained not knowingness, that this working with these beautiful people has forced mean to, is that you let go of kind of what you were planning, but something better comes up. And I think that nudged me towards Street Wisdom, which is this non-profit that's, I don't know if we run it or it runs us, but Rachel, you're here, yeah? So Rachel actually runs Street Wisdom with Mark, who I think is also in the ether somewhere. We'll be meeting him shortly. But Street Wisdom is it's in 62 countries now around the world and growing. What am I trying to say about it? It's at its heart is this sense, I think, of you sensitize yourself to what's happening, and then you follow your instincts. You follow what the environment's giving you. You don't screen it out and say, I've decided to go here, but you let your, mindfulness sometimes is said, you kind of still your mind and stop your mind wandering. I think what we do is say, let the mind wander and we'll follow it. Find where it wanders and what's beautiful about that. So anyway, every year we do a thing called the Worldwide Wander. What's it called?
Worldwide Wander.
It's like Crackerjack. Yeah, the Worldwide Wander, and it happens on Friday till Sunday. And it's this year we're doing it as a 60-hour wander relay around the world. We'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards. But I wanted to come to you, Susie, just say a little bit more. Psychologist has been our friend, our buddy, our champion. What is it that you personally and psychologists have seen in Street Wisdom that drew you to it as an idea?
I think with Street Wisdom, it's a very practical way to do mindfulness. It's a practical way to receive rather than to just do things all the time. I think there's a piece definitely about we all go, what's your goal, how to get from A to B, and what you just said about the Worldwide Wonder is about asking. So you start, you sort of breathe and you acclimatize, and then you ask a question. And then you're wandering the streets to look for the answer. All my friends and team always take the mick out of me because I go, it's a sign. Like, what's the sign of, Susie? And, but it's rather than knowing, there's so much, this idea of there's so much certainty around of this is what it should be like, this is what it's like. And okay, I think that time is over now because we're in this time of uncertainty, and being open to receive new inspiration, new ideas is a skill that we all really need to have. And I think I think we've always known that.
Yeah.
The team, I think it's a very feminine principle. It's about hearing the answers, listening, letting it come to you rather than dominating, saying this is what we're doing. I mean, there's room for both, obviously, to set goals. We love goals. But at the same time, this is such a practical, brilliant, and free way of people just being able to tune into their own inner wisdom. So that's what we're doing. That's what Street Wisdom is about. And if we can tune into that inner wisdom, to that, I call it the inner coach, whatever you want to call it, if you can really hear the answer, what's right for you, then you won't go far wrong in life. But I think we've become, that word again, disconnected, connected, disconnected from that. And that's where we're lost. So wandering to find ourselves is a lovely concept.
I had a teacher once who said, let's get lost and find lunch. There's something about willing to be lost. So Street Wisdom is grown into all these countries because they're all over the world are volunteered street leaders who volunteer to lead the workshops. And the Worldwide Wander, Rachel and Mark brilliantly set up a whole series of these volunteer wizards, street wizards we call them, around the world. And I do believe, if we're lucky, we'll be able to talk to one of them in Nairobi. Is that going to be possible? I just wonder whether that's a possibility. Oh my. Oh my. So I'm hoping that we're talking to Antonia.
Hello. Can you hear me?
It's such a great thing. We don't have to say to you, you're on mute. So that is fantastic. Antonia Kihara, you're an entrepreneur. You run a branding company. You've set up a thinking space called Soul Food Cafe. You've got a background in psychotherapy and fashion. I don't know if it's fashion and then psychotherapy, whatever. And from the conversations we've had, you are officially a bucket of sunshine. Ladies and gentlemen, say hi to Antonia.
Can you hear me?
Antonio, when I met you, I just thought, boy, we need to spend some hours together, but we've got like 5 minutes. Give us a sense, if you would. We've been asking everybody, what is life on stage for you like? When you're on stage, on the stage of your life at the moment, what is that like for you in Nairobi?
Like post-COVID, you mean? Or like...
Like whatever, like what is your reality at the moment?
Okay, well, post-COVID, I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation about being slow. And that's what I've really been enjoying, is just being slow. The other thing that I've been contemplating is just how we live and work. And I kind of feel like we've all been overworking and overreaching and overdoing. So part of my work as well is kind of getting everyone to kind of, you know, if we all operate slowly, it's also great for the climate as well. So I'm really passionate about the climate. And those are the things that kind of occupy my mind. We are locked down. This is my son. Hi. It's not terrible in Nairobi. We're not terribly locked down. But we are definitely more stuck together than we've ever been, which is interesting. He's here, you know, that's how stuck we are.
How does he feel about it?
Well, we've done street wisdom together before, and actually today we did a street wisdom in the house in a room.
Oh, beautiful!
Because I wanted to understand, you know, how you would do it off the streets.
Yeah.
So we did it in our living room, which is interesting, and we noticed things that we've not noticed, you know, living here for 4 years. It was really crazy, like in our own living room.
That's amazing, Antonio. You've simultaneously discovered something we've been working on, which is called Street Wisdom Comes Home. And for the last, all the way through COVID, we've been trying things in our house. But you told me something about climbing a mountain with a Maasai that I just thought was so interesting, and how you related it to street wisdom. Tell us.
So basically, Africans have always lived with animals. And these days you have conservancies and parks, and there's a lot of protection around animals because they will kill you, actually. So I was walking up a very wild mountain, and you know, traditionally when we do these things, I hope I'm still there.
You're completely there.
Okay, cool. So you know, Maasais are like the, you know, they're the tribe that's really refused to kind of modernize, if that's like a word. They still wear dresses, and they just operate in a completely different paradigm. Anyway, they're very in tune with nature and animals. And so when you're going on a safari or kind of into the wilderness, you know, it's advised to go with a Maasai, which I always find really crazy because they just walk around with one stick. It doesn't even have a like spear at the end of it. You know, I don't understand how that helps. But when we were walking, there were so many things that he was observing in nature that were able to tell him where the danger was. So, you know, like just birds flying off, or smells, or just the way the wind was blowing. He also kept sort of like breaking branches and stuff like that, which I think is, I don't know what he was doing, but there was all this like a communication to chase snakes away. And, you know, he'd be like, oh, you know, there's probably hyenas over there. It was pretty scary as well, just having to be vulnerable with this guy with his ancient knowledge. But I started to pick up on the senses as well as we started walking, just really listening to nature and what's going on around, and that's how they operate, and that's how they're safe, right? They can feel the danger and avoid it, and actually be in harmony with animals. And so yeah, that was really interesting. And I think street wisdom itself is that, right? It's like being aware of your surroundings. And I think in our ancient African ways of being, you know, we were just listening to clues from the earth on how to navigate. And we've definitely lost that, right? Like we have the internet, we have the internet. It's completely, you know, we're lazy, right? Like we don't explore and listen. And the other thing that we spoke about, David, that I think is really interesting is also, I've discovered recently that Africans would use moon cycles and the whole cosmos in their farming practices. So it's not just about rain, but just the entire cosmos. And I don't even know how they knew that. And I didn't even know that you could like connect astrology to when to plant and when to harvest. But all of it is around, you know, awareness, right? Like all of this knowledge is like in the ether. It's not like written down anywhere. Yeah, so I really connect to street wisdom from that perspective.
Well, we're really connecting with you. There's a kind of, everyone's like relaxed, sitting back. It's like having a great sort of a Nairobi bath or something. We're just picking up the energy. It's fantastic. You said Nairobi's the London of Africa, and I just think, I wish. But listen, Antonio, I'm going to... you are, I think, the first person. We're going to do this 60-hour continuous global wander from Friday morning, and I believe Rachel is Antonio the very first person.
11 a.m. on
She's
Friday.
kicking it off. She's kicking it off. I think she's a. And so that's 9 o'clock BST, and then the next one is Susie, you and me apparently.
Yeah.
So we've got to be awake.
Yeah.
And then I'm apparently doing the last one. Is that right? On Sunday evening. Anyone can join at any time, and it's enabled through the internet. So basically, you can do it through your laptop, and you can start at the laptop. You go for a wander, you come back to the laptop. So we're being creative. We're working with the lessons that COVID's giving us. Antonia, thank you so much. Come back to the green room soon. We need to know you better. That's really beautiful. And thank you. Thank you for joining us for now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. We're in this home stretch. We're sensing. We can smell. I don't know. Supper, alcohol. I'm not sure what it is, but we're coming to the last. In terms of Earth time, we're coming to the last minutes of green room, and I'm looking at Philip Cowell.
You got a poem, all right.
So Philip has been sitting and been. You thought he was just playing with his laptop, but he's basically been gestating. And have you got a poem for us, or did we do a poem?
I've got you did a poem. So I really wanted to do a pantoum for you, which is like a sonnet, or it's like a form. So it's like a sonnet, but it's a pantoum where you get repeated lines. So are you ready for it? I've called it a pantoum for Sir Ken. Is that all right? Is that all right?
Pantoum for Sir Ken.
Are you ready? A pantoum. It's a Malaysian form. Anyway.
A Malaysian form.
Exactly. Yeah.
We knew that, didn't we?
We did know that.
Oh yeah.
And so basically, these are all words. You've all said these words. Regardez les oiseaux, ils fly dans le ciel. Are we going to have a magical night tonight? I love the slight technical hitches. It makes it real. What is your onstage, and how do you get offstage? Are we going to have a magical night tonight? It's really weird. I'm hearing everything twice. What is your onstage, and how do you get offstage? Oh, look, it's somebody I know. I'll wave at them. It's really weird. I'm hearing everything twice. Can you get stage fright virtually? Zoom fright? Oh, look, it's somebody I know. I'll wave at them. Ah, ma space, the space between the notes that make the music. Can you get stage fright virtually? Zoom fright? Let's join Gibbs Gospel Choir in Geneva. Ah, ma space, the space between the notes that make the music. I shall make the best of the blue sweater. It'll have to do. Let's join Gibbs Gospel Choir in Geneva. I'm not a gags, a plenty person. My job is being myself. I shall make the best of my blue sweater. It will have to do. Is there anybody who speaks Icelandic with a Finnish back belt? I'm not a gags, a plenty person. My job is being myself. You may have detected my accent. I'm from Butte. Is there anybody here who speaks Icelandic with a Finnish backbeat? Be careful what you wish for. You're still on mute. You may have detected my accent. I'm from Butte. Women deserve goods and services designed for them. Be careful what you wish for. You're still on mute. The next Buddha will be a group, not a person. And Neil's a speed addict. He finds it hard to slow down. Regardez les oiseaux. Ils fly dans le ciel. Bless you. We need a new innocence to look things through. I love the slight technical hitches. It makes it real.
Oh Simon Heath.
Oh God, I get to follow that.
You get to follow that. Simon has been, I don't know what the word is, sketching, playing, doodling. Take us through, if you would, anything you think you'd like us to see.
I don't know how
Will, are you there?
How's this going to work?
He's behind you. You have Will Can.
Well, Will, here's Will.
Will Can.
So we had a French opening. There's no innuendo there. I like there's a goat here. There was a thing about the goat. It's a bit of an in-joke because I'm not sure how well that translated out. I like the idea that the finger drawing in blood. We're taking our mask off and there are no judgments. I like that. And that ties in with all this stuff about being ourselves, right?
Can you see this, Will? Or do you want me to hold it?
Or I can...
Will's good. Will's good.
Okay. Sending love to the Zoom-stricken in Mars space. Oh. Finding our offstage. Icelandic with a Finnish backbeat. I couldn't draw Finnish or Icelandic, so I've drawn Norwegian, I think. COVID-19 versus the blue sweater. I kind of like that mashup. We're still on mute. There's an empty space in the middle of the page here. That's our space to breathe. The idea of being nice to strangers, but we're awful to our loved ones. And then Emma was talking, and I was transfixed. I said, sometimes somebody is so fucking awesome, no pictures happen. And the idea of some things are too important to take seriously, the fuck it list. So I'm going to swear, because I do that normally, so I'm being myself. The idea of, I like this idea of community, not community. There's a drum here. Philip was beating the drum for his loves. Refreshing the world. And I've got the big pause button here for the menopause. I think, do you know what? I love the idea that the women are leaving their husbands. I think men need to get over themselves, right? The world is not designed for women, and women who buy Caroline's book because it's amazing. Women want to buy stuff designed for them. The idea of the menopause is a liberation and the awakening. And then we're on to the musical Speed Freaks. My friends, that's amazing. Speed Freaks are taking it slow, yearning for connection and consciousness, bringing your hermit with you, and the idea of momentous potential. Thank you in the tarot cards and the movement that David has started, bringing our whole self to everything we do. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. Practical mindfulness, open to uncertainty, and tuning into our inner wisdom, listening to clues from the earth and the moon cycles. There we have it.
There is something so poignant about having what we've done reflected back to us, isn't there? Yeah. I think probably we just blast on through life and you don't get that moment to smell the roses, and you guys beautifully played back to us and bubbled through your creativity. It's really touching. So I want to thank you. I want to thank all of our guests. That's a cue for a thing. And I want us to thank the audience. I want to thank everybody that's made this happen, and the creative team. You know who you are. It's the beginning of something. It's an experiment. If we got this right, we'll be back in a month. We'll see. Do get people to subscribe. Light it up. And I'm sure there's also things I should be saying about the Worldwide Wonder. Joe's just mouthing something. I mean, when your wife mouths something, you just hit it.
I'm leaving. I've got, yes.
King's Place.
Oh, King's Place. King's Place, Pete. This, Kings and Queens, yeah, this is the perfect place. So thank you, stars aligning so that we could do this here. It's the perfect place to be doing this, and may we do it lots. Okay, so the Worldwide Wonder, you can find out what that's, how to do that by getting onto our website, www.streetwisdom.org. Is that right? It's all good. Anything else I need to say, Vanessa? Now's your moment.
No more, light it up.
We'll do that one more time. So what I thought we would do is end as Epsiode and the cards told us, which is end on a question. And so I asked you guys if you had a question, the kind of question we could be asking. The one I came in with was, how do we find our way together? Because we need to find our way together. There's this lovely image that I think the Chinese use of you come to a river you don't know, and you find your way across it by feeling your way over the stones. You don't get an Ordnance Survey map and build a steel bridge. You get in to the element, and you feel your way through trial and error. So that's what I was thinking. The question might be, how do we find our way together? But you'll have come up with something better. Any question you think deserves, should be the question that we ask as we leave the room. No pressure. Danny Scheinman.
Well, I thought Epsiode said, what do we have in common, actually? And the thing that came to my mind was, build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come, which is amazing, because I believe there is an opera that ends that way. Is that not right?
Yes.
And it's one that needs a chorus, interestingly. So the chorus, if we had a chorus, peeps, would be singing what exactly, Maestro?
Build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come. Build it and they will come. Build it and they will come. Is that right?
Yeah.
Build it and they will come. I have no idea how this goes, so listen up. But are you ready? Good. Take it away in proper.
You are the chorus, by the way. Just reminding you, you have one job. Remember those notes in the right order. Oh, yes.
I'm looking out across a river. How do I get to the other side?
That's mates who can build a massive bridge, and they're strong and they're tough and they've got toolkits by the dozen.
Classic man's
Wow.
Can we go in the green room now?